Assalamualaikum, my name is Dew Francis and welcome to the Weekly Deen Show. This is a show where we discuss everything and anything under the Muslim sun in Singapore, from social issues to current affairs and everything else in between. Think of it as a coffee shop conversation with an expert, a camera and a trying Muslim. For our first episode, we're going to discuss something very, very important, especially if you're in an interfaith relationship. Sharia marriage versus civil marriage. What's the difference? What does it mean for Muslims? And why is it something that we need to understand clearly? Now, if you're a Muslim in Singapore and you're planning to get married, the first thing you need to know is that you do not get married at ROM. That is for civil marriages only. You, as a Muslim, will need to go to ROMM, Registry of Muslim Marriages, and that is a law. Two Muslims cannot marry under the civil law, and no, it's not a choice to be made either. However, according to the country's law, if you are in an interfaith relationship, one Muslim and the other is not, then yes, you can marry under the civil law. And legally, you will be considered husband and wife, but Muslimly, or rather under the eyes of Islam, you are not. And from the eyes of your parents and your makciks at family gatherings, you are considered terpaling haram. Now, what happens in a divorce? Which is half my family. If you are Muslim, you go to Sharia court. They handle your divorce, custody, maintenance, and division of property. But here's the fun part. Sometimes, the family justice court steps in to enforce certain orders. Kind of like a WWE tag team match. Sharia law throws a punch. Family court comes in with a steel chair and sometimes end it with a choke slam. So tonight we are asking, why are Muslims even discussing civil versus Sharia marriage? Is it convenience? Is it an interfaith love story? Or is it just because sometimes they cannot recite their vows in Malay, which is me? Let's get into it and ask some people on the streets.
So I have a lot of friends I've gotten into. So I've got a lot of friends that have gotten into civil marriages, and with that come different opinions from their family and friends. So to know what people really find out, we have to go on the streets and ask them what their thoughts are. Let's go. Why do you think young Muslims are discussing civil marriage versus Sharia marriage?
I guess with the influence of social media.
I think the younger generations are more open with the Western culture.
Everything that you see on the media and online.
Newer batches of people are more westernized.
Do you think that it's out of convenience?
Maybe not, maybe out of curiosity.
More or less, I say so. But is it the right thing to do?
Some people think it's convenient because they don't have to go through the conversion, they convert to the religion.
Do you think it's because of all the interfaith love stories that are around?
It influence?
Yeah, that one also plays a part
At the end of the day, it goes down to your roots
I agree. Definitely they will face some difficulties, like myself also.
Is your marriage interfaith?
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, all good. 2 kids. Okay, off.
Can tell this is an Islamic show because the mic is also covered from head to toe. If that's what they have to say on the street, let's dive deeper. And to really unpack this, we actually invited some experts. For our first expert, she's been practicing law since 1984, experienced in both civil law and Sharia law. She is someone who has contributed in Singapore Domestic Violence Bill in 1995, amendments to the Women's Charter, Muslim marriage and divorce rules in 1999. She's also a strong advocate for Muslim women's issues and gender equality. Please welcome lawyer Madam Halija.
Thank you.
That's a crazy intro.
Pleased to be here.
Yes. And for our next expert, he is currently the ambassador of MKAC, guiding our community on faith and social issues, and known largely for bridging the gap between tradition and today's realities. Ustaz
Harun?
Ustaz Harun Hassan Akhtar.
Thank you, Mr. Dew. How are you?
I am very good.
Good.
To make sure I don't stutter, can I just call you Ustaz Harun?
Yes, that's good.
I don't have to call
people
you.
call me like that, yeah. Don't worry.
Okay, because this
Yeah.
it's a bit long.
But usually people call me Ustad Harun, but in the glamorous form, they call me Ustad Aaron.
Oh, okay. Okay, so same.
But Harun will be nice.
Today's big question is, for Muslims in Singapore, we know Sharia marriage is the way. But what really makes the difference from civil marriage, and what sorts of trouble do we get ourselves into if we don't follow the Islamic law? So, Ustad, now I understand that it is our, or rather we have to obey these laws, right? So for example, as two Muslims, we need to marry under the Sharia law. And this is always what our parents tell us, or this is that is the law. So now let's say I have no idea about that I have to go through this as a Muslim, right? So what happens if I do not marry under the Sharia law?
A couple, they are registered under ROM, MUIS will be able to detect. And then they may call the Muslim party to come over for a short advice or what they call as counseling, encouraging him to marry the Islamic law to a Muslim, where maybe in this case you may have to either convince your partner to revert or that you find a Muslim partner to get married legally according to the Sharia law. But it is not an obligatory thing. Sometimes they will get invitation for that counseling, but they may not want to go. Okay. Because they love the girl.
Yeah.
Maybe the boy is a Muslim and the girl not Muslim, because out of love, and maybe they had made that promise that whatever it is, I'll still marry you, and then they may still go on with that civil marriage. We can only try to help them, advise them that legally according to Sharia law, you are not supposed to marry a non-Muslim. Even our Nabi also, he married a Jewish lady, Safia binti Huyay, but she reverted to Islam. Likewise, Maria al-Qibtiyya from Egypt, from the Christian background, but she reverted to Islam. Only then Nabi Muhammad married them. In Surah Al-Baqarah, if I'm not wrong, verse number 221, Allah gave us advice and guidance, where Allah says, a Muslim is better for you than a non-Muslim, even though the non-Muslim attracts you more. Allah wants, I mean to say, to marry a person of the same faith, because the idea of marriage in Islam is not only because you love one another, and maybe because you want to satisfy your lust for each other, but more to build a generation of Muslims who are muttaqin, orang bertakwa, and believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because our Nabi did say, tanakahu takthuru fa inni mubahin bikumul umama yawmal qiyamah. Get married and multiply, because I like to see the multitudes of you on the day of judgment. You'll be proud that you are so many compared to other nations, and Nabi Muhammad will be proud of us. So the law states that a Muslim should marry a Muslim, and a non-Muslim should marry a non-Muslim. And Allah advised us that we should marry a Muslim of the same faith, so that when we are married together, the ideology is the same, the faith is the same, and we can streamline our tarbiyah, our upbringing to our children. But if they insist of marrying their lover of different religion, their cohabitation, or maybe they are living together and consummating the marriage is not legal in the Sharia law, because they married.
I think the issue is this, right? From an Islamic perspective, right, there is this compliance of religious obligations, right? And one of which, Ustad, you said that you should marry another Muslim, right? However, living in a democratic, multiracial, multi-religious society, right, then the issue becomes this, right? Should the state, not the individuals, right? As individuals, we will live according to our conscience, right? Should the state then, like what Singapore is doing, give that choice to individual? So if I'm a Muslim and I want to marry a non-Muslim, the question is this, right? Why should there be coercion for my intended spouse who's a non-Muslim to convert?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, Islam is not the religion of the state, right? It's a secular. We are a secular democratic state. If you reverse the situation, supposing there is a law, right, which says that if I am a Muslim and my intended is a Christian, supposing there is a state law which says that no, I have to convert to Christianity. How would we like that? It can be a little bit problematic, because if one believes in freedom of a choice, i.e. in marrying, and freedom of religion, then why is it that the non-Muslim must by law, right, convert to marry a Muslim?
I agree with you. That's a bit
right?
unfair.
Yeah.
That's a bit unfair.
Yeah. So that's the issue.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm not saying that Muslims shouldn't marry under the Islamic law, so don't get me wrong, right? But the issue is, in a modern, secular, democratic, multiracial, multi-religious state, should we have that choice taken away by the state? Yeah. For example, like in Malaysia, you know you have no choice, right? So if I'm a Muslim and my intended is a Christian or a non-Muslim, poor bugger got no choice. He must convert. Otherwise, don't marry me. So that's the issue.
I agree. And I guess if, let's say, for someone like me, right? I mean, I grew up dating a lot of Chinese girls, and I'm someone who also never really learned about religion a lot in my life, and I am Muslim. Let's talk about the haramness, the level of haram. If, let's say, I go married under the civil law, what type of sins are we talking about here?
You know, I had even encountered such marriage where they got married in a civil marriage, and then the boy was a Muslim and the girl non-Muslim, but the girl happened to be a daughter of a pastor, and they got married. Of course, not consented by the parents, but they had been invited for counseling at MUIS level, but they still wanted to continue their their so-called love mission. I do not know. Maybe this may be an isolated case where after that the girl reverted to Islam without any coercion. And the children also, they became Muslim. Because when they see the father or the boy, a Muslim boy, exhibiting good moral character, respecting the parents of the girl who were Christian, doing his obligation as a Muslim, and she was, after that, interested in embracing Islam. And after that, she reverted to Islam.
I'm thinking as someone who's going to get married to a Chinese girl, right? Of course, I would be scared to go for a civil marriage because I would like to think it's mainly two things. Number one is religion. Second is the judgment that we are going to face from our parents, from our uncles, from our aunties, and everyone else. But a lot of people, a lot of liberals also understand that whatever I do is between me and God. What I feel like they don't understand is the level of sin. So for example, we understand that eating pork is a very high level of sin. Where does me not marrying under Sharia law, am I going to hell? Or what does that look like?
That's something that we cannot say or is beyond our comprehension because they'll be according to Allah's judgment. There have been people who had been committing sins, but after that, towards the end of their life, they repented and they become good people. With regards to religion, there's one phrase from Nabi Muhammad SAW that we need to advise one another. If somebody wanted to do something against Islamic law, just advise. There's nothing we can do, and we are not going to cut open your heart and then put hidayat into your heart because it's solely the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But again, if a person, we can only say that in Islamic eyes, marriage between a Muslim and non-Muslim, tak salah, it's not legal.
But what does that mean? You get what I mean?
It means to say that they are not married.
I think it's going to be a little bit difficult, right? If we discuss it that way, right? I think there is two things, right? There is the law of the land, right? And as Singapore citizens, Singapore residents, we are bound to obey the law of the land.
Yeah.
But there is religious obligation, like I said just now, right? And for some people, that is a matter of an individual's conscience. As they said, right? It's between you and God. Engkau jawablah dalam kubur, right? It's simply said. So there is this, you see, your own individual conscience, right? And there is the law of the land that you must comply with. We are not like Malaysia, for example, where that choice for a Muslim and a non-Muslim to marry, the choice is not there, you see, but the choice is here in Singapore. And from a state level, I think that should be the way, right? There's also from a human rights perspective, and Singapore is the signatory to the human rights treaties. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, right? These are all human rights treaties which gives individuals that choice, you see. So again, we go back again to this lah. We have the law of the land, right? Yeah, and under the Women's Charter, you have this choice. Muslim can marry a non-Muslim. Then there's the issue of your conscience, right? Your conscience, yeah? So I think that is the perspective at this point of time, right? And people, I think for the public, what they want to know is if they want to marry a non-Muslim, is there a choice or not? For the non-Muslim, the intended, the other intended spouse, must they convert or do they not convert? So basically that is the situation in Singapore. Can I just go back again to what you were saying just now, right? About initially, right, a Muslim marries a non-Muslim. Yes, it's happened. We've seen this. It's not uncommon. I won't say it's that common. I'm saying that it's not uncommon. But what happened is, you're right, Ustad, that through the interaction with the Muslim community, through the spouses, to the Muslim spouses, relatives and parents and uncles and aunts and whatnot, right? They then, through no pressure, in some cases, yes, there were familial pressure to convert, right? They learn and appreciate the beauty of Islam, as Ustaz said, right? And then they convert. So now we have legally a situation where you have a Muslim married a non-Muslim under civil law. And then 2 years, 3 years, 10 years later, the non-Muslim, for want of a better word, saw the light and converted. Then what happened? What they do is, they then undergo a Muslim marriage solemnization process. And then that marriage from a non-Muslim civil marriage becomes converted into a Muslim marriage.
Yeah, okay.
So it happened.
Yeah.
It does happen in many cases, and also not uncommon. Also, I want to go back again to this individual conscience versus state law. Really, that is the discussion, yeah? When an individual is given a choice, that choice must be exercised responsibly. You don't suka-suka go and enter into a civil marriage without knowing what on earth is the consequence of it. There is a very, very important consequence, i.e. in terms of inheritance.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to go into, right?
Yes.
So what I understand is, and my understanding might be very wrong, okay? So now let's say I marry under the Sharia law and I'm a woman and something happens in the marriage, I want to divorce my husband. What I understand is that the husband needs to drop the talaqs, basically the levels of divorce. And if let's say the husband does not drop the talaq, the divorce cannot go through. And that to me is very unfair, because if the woman wants to divorce the husband, the woman needs to prove so many things that the husband hasn't been providing under the Islam
Administration
obligations.
of Muslim Law Act.
Correct. And to me, that's very unfair. But I'm not too sure how true is that. So now let's say in a situation where I am married and I cheated, right? And my wife wants to divorce me and I said, no.
No lah, you want your cake and eat it, right? You want to have your wife and you also want to have your mistress and lover, right? So
Yes,
you don't want to
100%.
divorce her. Okay, yeah.
So
happens quite a lot, yeah.
I think that's also one of the reasons for the many divorces in Singapore, right?
Yeah, well, infidelity is one of it. Yes,
Infidelity, yeah.
Yeah. So then how does the woman then divorce if the husband does not want to drop the talaq?
Speaking as a lawyer, right? On the one hand, at the first glance, you think that, the husband can just talaq, right? He wake up one morning, decide that he doesn't like the wife's face and talaq. No reasons have to be given, right? Yeah. And then they see that this is unfair because, as you pointed out, the Muslim wife will have to prove a ground for divorce, right?
Yeah.
Under the Administration of Muslim Law Act. And one of the ground is cerai taklek lah. Divorce because there is a breach of the marriage promises. And this is another difference between civil marriage and Muslim marriage. Under Muslim marriage, in the marriage certificate is printed the taklek. Taklek is an Arabic word. The taklek is the promise that the groom makes to the bride. There are 5 promises. One is, I shall not fail to maintain you for more than 4 months. I shall not leave or abandon you for more than 4 months. I cannot cause injury to your body, and there's 2 other reasons. In civil marriage, the marriage certificate don't have this. Don't have all these taklek, don't have all these marriage promises. So just bear in mind, if you choose to go and marry under civil law, this is another one of the difference. Yeah. So, go back again to divorce. Is it fair? Is it unfair? It's hard to say it's fair or unfair because it will be unfair only if the woman cannot get a divorce at all.
Yes.
Okay? But she can. And in practice, it's not that difficult for the Muslim woman to get a divorce. You just have to prove that there is a breach of the taklek. In other words, he failed to maintain you, he abandoned you, etc. Right? Yeah. Or fasa, right? Fasa, which means that he has been in prison for more than 3 years. He has got chronic diseases. He has more than 1 wife, and he doesn't treat you fairly. So there are all these grounds for divorce, right? And failing this, it's not quite accurate to say that it's difficult for a Muslim woman to get a divorce. Even if she cannot prove a ground for divorce under taklek or under fasa, there is this mechanism called the hakam process. Hakam
Okay.
is an Arabic word for arbitrators.
Okay.
So through the hakam, she can get a divorce. So it's not really insurmountable lah.
Yeah.
So
I
in terms
totally
of the
believe that,
difference,
yeah.
in terms of the difference, even though the husband can just
Exactly my point.
divorce you.
So, and I think that's one of the biggest fears
Yeah.
of people converting into Islam, right? Because on paper, it looks like a very sexist religion, right? Because now you already said the difference. A husband can just wake up in the morning, I cerai you, talak 1, 2 or 3. Easy, it's just words, right? But then the woman will need to hire a lawyer, find the proof, or rather prove that my husband hasn't been providing for me for a very long time, and then I can get a divorce. And I think that's really one of the fears, and that's why civil marriages, I wouldn't want to say famous, people are leaning towards civil marriages because I, as a husband, I do not want to pressure the lover into converting to Islam if she doesn't believe in it. Maybe if I practice it properly and she wants to come in, sure. But there's always these two things that will stop them. And really one of them is, if I want a divorce from you, I will have to prove so many things.
No, but let me just sort of correct you there. It's not as if under civil law, so easy to get divorced, you know.
Yeah, I want to correct you there also. My friend got divorced through WhatsApp.
No. Let's not go into divorce by WhatsApp, right? Yeah, because how do you pronounce the talak? The mode of it, there are different ways, right? And then we move with in the modern world. Let's not deal with this. I want to address your issue about this idea that if you go through a Muslim marriage, then for the Muslim woman, it's very hard, very insurmountable to get a Muslim divorce. That's not quite correct because in civil laws also, you must comply with the laws of divorce, i.e. you have to prove one of the grounds of divorce. We haven't reached the stage, like in some countries in the West, right? You can just divorce very, very easily. No. In Singapore, you still have to prove.
So
under civil law, if I may, there are 6 grounds of divorce now. 1, adultery. 2, unreasonable behavior, right? Your spouse snore, or you know what, don't like the way he eats his breakfast, or don't know what. That's called unreasonable behavior. But usually it's a bit more serious lah. Alcoholism, physical abuse. I'm just making light of things. Then the 3rd one is desertion. If the spouse, right, have deserted you for more than 2 years. The 4th grounds of divorce is 3 years separation with consent lah. Okay, so I separated from my husband for 3 years, and then he agreed that, okay, let's divorce. And the 5th ground for divorce is because, for example, I want a divorce. I've been separated from my husband for 3 years, but he wants to be difficult, right? So he says, no, why should I go and consent to a divorce? Then you wait another year, 4 years separation. Then I don't care whether he gives me the divorce. And now there's a new law which says that you can divorce by mutual agreement. Under both systems, although the grounds for divorce are different, right? Under Muslim law, the man can pronounce talak, and for the wife, you have to prove breach of takleh or fasa, or go to a hakam process. Under civil law, similarly, there are grounds for divorce. It's just that what I want to alert the people to is this, right? You need to know lah, if you choose to marry under civil law, right? Where you get divorced is also different lah. So if you marry under civil law, right? And then you think for some reason, say for the husband lah, he says, I think I heard under Muslim law, divorce I just talak her. Then I choose to go to the Sharia court to get divorced. The Sharia court will say, oi mat, balik Yeah, because you marry under civil law, the Sharia court door is closed. You want to divorce? You go and divorce in family court.
As a woman, I can prove that my husband hasn't been providing for me. How is it for me to divorce? Like, I can just prove to you and then, okay.
It's not that difficult.
So must the husband still drop the talak after I've proven that he hasn't been providing?
No need. Yeah.
Okay, then that's a relief.
Yeah, you don't have to. That's the reason. That's why I said I had to correct you just now. Because you say that it's like so unfair lah. The husband can just talak only, right? And then the wife have to prove a divorce. It's not that difficult because you just must have the evidence lah. I mean, a simple example is that the woman has gone to family court. She has got a maintenance order, and then the husband didn't comply. Right? It's as easy as that.
Yeah.
Right?
No, but I guess the effort taken from the guy versus the woman, the guy is so much.
No, but in terms of the process, both parties must go through the same process, you see?
I mean, of course, when you get married, you will never think of divorce.
100% I agree, yeah.
I mean, when I got married, so I meant it to be forever. But of course, problems will arise, conflict will arise. Of course, even if those things happen also, I will not straight jump to divorce, right? Of course, like we got our parents, our family from both sides who can advise us. We can seek advice from the marriage counselor. So divorce will not be something that I will just simply, I want that straight away. Because we also remember for all the years we've been developing that love. It's not easy, you know. You invested your time, your money, and what more with your children. But it was one mistake, let's go for divorce. I think that would be immaturity. When you cannot handle it anymore, it becomes something that is insurmountable. Maybe there are avenues for us to go. We have got this counseling.
Pre-divorce,
pre-divorce
mandatory marital counseling.
That's right. I mean, we will exhaust all efforts to safeguard the marriage. Only when things cannot be solved, cannot be resolved, then maybe divorce will be the last resort. Of course, I'm sure from Mahkamah Syariah side, they will advise us not to break, to resume and to renew our love. It emanates from us. Husband not doing their duty, wife not doing their duty. The love has dried up, dah kering. So there will be many advices coming. Coming back to the what you said that a woman will have difficulty getting divorced, maybe it's not so actually. Because kalau dia dah tak suka, she doesn't like anymore, and then there's no more love, maybe personality differences, irreconcilable differences.
It's okay.
Untung untuk belajar orang putih, Alhamdulillah. Those are grounds where if mediation cannot help, maybe a temporary separation also doesn't help, then maybe it will be decided by Mahkamah Syariah that maybe that the couple can be granted divorce. If the husband don't want to give the talak, but if the wife insists that she be given talak, I'm sure, I think this one talak, what you call talak khul'i kan, where she will have to pay for the talak to get free from the marriage contract.
Pay in what, in cash?
No.
Tidak. Usually the husband tak minta apa-apa lah, but she can return certain presents given by the husband previously, etc. etc. But that one, I do not know whether the husband nak ambil ke tidak kan. Tapi usually if the wife wants, maybe she have to pay for the procedure.
No. Okay, in practice, right?
This is Sharia law that you're going
Yes.
to talk about.
Okay. In practice in Singapore, right? Okay. So there is classical Islamic law, right, with all the traditional scholars and all that, right? And there's also what is being practiced in Sharia court, right? What is practiced in Sharia court is this, right? Nowadays, divorce by khulu, where the wife technically pays a certain amount of money to the husband and the husband releases her. Technically it's there.
Yeah.
But it's hardly practiced. In many cases where the wife wants a divorce and the husband refuses to divorce her, refuses to pronounce the talak, and she cannot prove either cerai takleh or cerai fasakh, then like I said, they go through a process called hakam. And this hakam process is where the wife appoints a hakam, the husband appoints a hakam, and the four of them have a discussion. And there will be a divorce through the hakam process because through the advice of the two ustad, they are usually ustad, the husband will finally relent, right, and voluntarily pronounce the talak through this hakam process. And then if the husband is still hard-headed, kepala batu, right, and doesn't want to divorce the wife, mati-mati pun tak nak cerai kan? So what the next option is, the two ustad, the two arbitrators will advise him, do you want to do talak tafwid? Okay, what is talak tafwid? It means delegated talak. So what in practice it means is this: the husband will stand up in front of the judge and he will say, I now delegate my authority to divorce my wife to my wife. And then the wife then stands up and she tells in front of the judge, I hereby accept the authority and I now divorce myself. So this is option number 2. And then say the husband said, Why should I delegate my talak? I don't want to divorce her. You don't understand. I say, I don't want to divorce her. Then there'll be a third option where if the judge and the two hakam, the two arbitrators, realize that this marriage cannot continue, then they said the marriage must end. And it doesn't matter if this very, very stubborn, obstinate mule of a husband doesn't want to divorce his wife. Maybe he's a good husband now. Maybe the wife is running around with another man. I don't know. Okay. But whatever the situation is, what is the third option? If the judge and the hakam say that the marriage cannot continue because it's going to cause misery, the judge can direct the husband's hakam to divorce the wife. So this ustad, who's never met this woman in his whole life until the day of the hakam discussion, and he being the hakam for the husband, he will stand up and he say, saya hakam bagi pihak suami menceraikan so and so dengan talak satu. So this hakam process, right, is a way, for want of a better word, a way out. Therefore, we hardly use the cerai kolo. Hardly use. Let's not be sidetracked by that.
That's a huge relief.
Yes,
I guess for
I
a
just
lot of
wanted
people.
to tell people. Yes,
Because I guess this information is, honestly, I've Googled about it before because my friend wanted to divorce her husband and she was telling me this. Oh my God, is it really like that? So I went to Google it. All this information is not available online for obvious reasons. I understand why. Because we don't want to push divorces in Singapore, right? But thank you so much for sharing that because
so this idea, I just want to dispel this thing that for a Muslim woman, right, it is like, voila, so susah, so difficult to get divorced. That is not true.
Yes, it's not true because Islam pun jaga the right of the woman. If she's not happy in the marriage, there must be a way out.
Correct.
Lepas dengan cara baik.
Correct.
No argument, tak pukul and so on kan. Jadi there is a way. Some people dengan niat baik lah, they don't want us to easily go for divorce. But actually, there are avenues for divorce if the couple they cannot reconcile. Jadi there's one way lah. Jadi tapi dengan cara baik, then should be okay.
But thank you so much for coming and sharing this information to me, especially because I feel like, I mean, there are a lot of key takeaways here, especially for the non-Muslims. I wouldn't want. You know what? I will put myself under the non-Muslim even though I am Muslim because my education of Islam is very, very little. So, and with the lack of education, I think today you guys have enlightened me. Yeah, a lot about the fears of converting into Islam, especially for the non-Muslims, right? And if let's say I want to marry a girl, want to convert, she'll ask me these types of questions.
Yeah.
But now I know that they also have an option should they want to divorce. If let's say they want to get into Islam that in the years to come, they can also. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you, Ustad. Thank you,
so much.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back later at the end of the show, I'll share my thoughts as a rediscovering Muslim on what I think about the conversation that we have had earlier. But stay tuned because right after this, we got a mystery guest giving us the weekly news roundup. Who is it?
Awesome.
Hi guys, is it true that you guys are the award-winning property agent?
Alhamdulillah, yes, we are. Since 2007 when we started.
So what are the awards that you win?
The most notable recent one was actually in 2021. At that point of time, we almost achieved $1 million in sales. It was a great year because of the shortage of supply. We have more than 100 plus sales. The only reason we are just shortage of just a bit more to reach $1 million. However, because we want transparency, we do not want to cheat. It's all based on our hard work.
So how about this year, 2025?
This year, primarily, my focus is doing the private market. Alhamdulillah, I've closed about 5 to 6 new launches. Coming up also will be a couple of resale landed.
How about you? Are you the award-winning property agent also?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what kind of award that you won?
I won multiple awards, up to 83 entries, can't remember. 6 awards in 2022, 17 awards in 2023, 22 awards in 2024, up to date is 11 awards, 2025.
So what makes you the award-winning property agent?
For the past 3 years, I am a top 5 HDB transactor in PropNext. Out of 12 to 13,000 agents in PropNext, I am one of the top HDB transactors.
So what makes you the award-winning property agent?
Hard work and dedication and our system inside it.
Assalamualaikum everyone, I'm Sophie and I'm gonna deliver news to you that you didn't ask for, but I'll do it anyway. First up, Zaidin property agents are facing a crisis. Well, apparently, they have too many awards and are running out of shelf space. These award-winning agents need a challenge. So if you are in the market, you know who to call. These are definitely tested and proven. Meanwhile, Acting Minister in charge of Muslim Affairs Faisal Ibrahim says Singapore may not recognize Palestine today, but we won't be silent onlookers to Gaza either. And next, Malaysia-based Singapore actor Aaron Aziz is suing. Well, after his Gaza comments got taken out of context where there's plenty of netizens roasting him, the bullying went viral. This is the new cycle. You post something, you cancel someone, you cyberbully, and then you do a lawsuit. It's like the Lion King's circle of life, except with lawyers. But really, if you consume content, please check the full content before you make any judgments. And finally, good news though for the Malay community who loves ghost stories. Nothing says Pontianak vibes like the cosmic crossover right after Hungry Ghost Festival, where Singaporeans will be getting the supermoon tonight. Because apparently the ghosts weren't enough, the moon also had to show up dramatically. So, cheers to more paranormal content. And that's the news. From trophies to tragedies to paranormal content, I'm Sophie, and you're welcome.
Now, that was a very heavy conversation, especially for someone who is trying to be a better Muslim, because I was wrong about a lot of things. It has brought me a lot of light, like for example, about the divorce and many others. So to the women who are non-Muslim that I used to date last time, now I am open. If you want to come into being a Muslim, I am more educated about this matter, especially about divorces. Now, as Madam Halijah mentioned, civil law shapes our rights as citizens, things like your flat, your CPF, your custody battles, and so on. And Sharia law guides our responsibilities as Muslims, our niyat, our ibadah, and our akhirat, as mentioned by the Ustad. And honestly, in my opinion, both matter. Because you do not want to end up in a nice house with no peace. After the conversation tonight, it has reminded me that we do not need more division, we actually need more education. The law of the land deserves our respect, and the law of Allah deserves our obedience. And if we do not understand the differences, we will keep fighting the wrong fights. So the takeaway is very, very simple. Understand the systems, respect the law, stay true to your faith, and please, don't make life decisions based on your WhatsApp groups. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you today. To our guests and the Ustad, to the lawyer, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us all the knowledge that we need to know. To you watching at home, thank you so much for learning with us. May we continue to learn, ask, and grow in our Deen. I am Dew Francis, and this is the Weekly Deen Show. Assalamualaikum.
So we now know that Muslim and non-Muslim can marry under the civil law. However, when exercising this choice of choosing to marry under the civil law, one has to make a decision based on knowledge, and that decision must be informed. You better go and find out knowledge. The important thing here is you got to find out what you are getting into before doing it.
Okay, awesome, good. Thank you very much.